I'm on the Treasury Graduate Scheme. I joined in September 2018, so I've been on it for about 2 years. And currently I'm working in public services, and within that I work on local government spending. So that's a whole host of things from kind of transport and education to social care. So for the first few weeks of the programme, before you start the actual job, you have an initial period of training. And this is done alongside the kind of roughly 60 other graduates that you're with. And it's actually really fun kind of having that initial training stage with them, because like everyone gets to know each other, and you have plenty of time to socialise, which is nice. But for the training itself, so you cover a bit of kind of policy making ground. So you look at the different areas of policy that the government is in charge of, and how they get kind of progressed on a day-to-day basis. And kind of within the graduate group, you have a mix of what they call policy makers and also economists. So the economists are obviously people who did an economics degree. But for those who didn't do an economics degree, you get a kind of mini crash course in economics. So that's just a couple of days of training where you cover like micro and macroeconomics. And it's not too detailed, and it's really accessible if you aren't good at maths or aren't good at economics, and it just gives you a kind of entry-level knowledge that you need for the job. So a day-to-day life as a kind of Treasury civil servant, I think, can be quite varied. I'd say an average work day consists of a couple of different meetings. That might be with some of your internal Treasury colleagues, but it could also be with other government departments like the Department for Education or the Department for Health, or it can even be with external stakeholders. So that can be a whole range of people from different businesses and charities to kind of, just different public groups and public bodies. You do also get some time to do your own work. You can have a bit of quiet time to do research or to kind of write reports. Since the pandemic, I would say that work has definitely gotten a lot busier. For the civil service, we have quite a large task of trying to, keep the country running and get things back on track. So for the Treasury, that's meant leading on loads of job-related schemes, like, the Kickstarter scheme and the kind of different bonuses that the government has offered to businesses. So loads of work kicked off related to coronavirus. So I'd say that my favourite part of the job is seeing how your work actually translates out into the real world. Whether you're working on policy-based stuff or, economics-based stuff, I think whatever you do actually does have a real-world impact. And it's particularly exciting if you're working on something and then you see it get announced on the news. That's definitely a highlight of working both in the civil service and in the Treasury specifically. The Treasury actually has quite a big focus on being social and making sure that everyone's kind of integrated and just collaborating all the time. And that doesn't just mean about work things. I think one of my favourite things is the randomised coffee trials that we have. So this is both across the civil service, but there's also one just for graduates. And it essentially means that you get paired with a completely random person who's signed up for the coffee scheme. And you just get assigned to each other and you go and have a chat over a cup of coffee. And it's just a really nice way to switch off from work and to get to know different people. There's loads you can do with different kind of social work streams, and that's different things like advocating for, mental health and well-being. There's also loads of different work on kind of diversity and inclusion. There's loads of kind of different teach-ins and workshops where people can go and share ideas and just educate themselves. So I think joining Treasury and joining the civil service is a really good foundation for pretty much any career path. I think it can take you in so many different directions. You can work in pretty much any of the government departments, or you can even move to the private sector if you want. But for some lucky people who work in a couple of different government departments, they actually get to travel internationally. I actually heard of one person whose work took them to Bali, which is particularly exciting, and I'm definitely not jealous about that. But yeah, I would definitely say that the Treasury and the civil service can take you absolutely anywhere, and sometimes quite literally. So I think my main tip for applying to the Treasury Grad scheme is, it sounds cliche, but just be yourself. That's what, the assessors really want to see. I think it absolutely doesn't matter if, you haven't gone to the best uni, if you haven't got straight A stars in your A levels, that's absolutely fine. I think the main thing that the Treasury want to see is just your enthusiasm. And especially if you're the kind of person who has a lot of thoughts and opinions, about how to kind of change the country and the world for the better, I think they're really, really interested in seeing that.